Big fight night on Saturday night. September 30th, we've got the undisputed world junior middleweight champion, that is Jermell Charlo, challenging the undisputed world super middleweight champion, Canelo Alvarez. That's going to be going down in Vegas. So let's break down the big bout with the hosts of the Mandatory Boxing Show, Shantelle and Bryan Fonseca. They've joined me before, and they join me now. Guys, how's it going?
Going good, Dex. Big fight tonight. Canelo week, of course. It's been a big one, and it's a great matchup against him and Jermell Charlo, who is another undisputed champ. So it's a good one tonight. Yeah,
it's a big one. You don't usually get these, Bryan. I know Bryan's excited about this too. You don't get these. We get two undisputed champs coming together. It's a really exciting one, Bryan. I know you're always excited for the violence, as always. So we'll get started here. Shantelle, I'm going to start with you. Let's start with Charlo, because he's moving up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo. Do you have any concern about him moving up for this fight? And although he's the underdog here, does he have a chance to pull off the upset?
So when you're moving up a weight class, moving up 1 weight class is a big deal. Jermell Charlo is moving up 2 weight classes. Now, the thing about him, though, is that he does have power. His right hand is vicious. I think his left hook is better than his right hand. So I think his power will transcend. But he's also coming off a 16-month layoff. And I think that might be the bigger question coming into this fight. How is he going to look? Is there going to be a little bit of rust on him? Because that is a long layoff, and you're moving up 2 weight classes. Do I think he has a chance in this fight? I do think Jermell Charlo has a chance in this fight just because of the power that he possesses in his hands. I mean, that's going to actually shake Canelo if he is able to land on him. And of course, Canelo coming into this fight, some questions about him as well. So I do think Jermell Charlo has a chance in this fight. And if he's able to land a big one on Canelo, I think we could see a little bit of an upset, but I mean, I think Canelo Alvarez still the favorite for a reason.
Okay, got him as a favorite for a reason, saying that Charlo has a chance. Bryan, I want to talk to you about the favorite in Canelo, because he's heard to talk about how he hasn't looked that inspired after his last couple of fights. What kind of performance does the boxing world need to see from Canelo in this fight?
Well, in his last few fights, there's sort of been a trend where he's faded late in them. And last year, it happened a couple times. In one instance, he lost to Dimitri Bivol, which was scored a lot closer than the fight actually was. And then the other was against Gennady Golovkin, where he dominated the early portion of that fight. And then things sort of turned toward the end of it, where Canelo seemed to gas out. Same thing happened against John Ryder earlier this year when they fought in May in Mexico in a smaller ring that I thought Canelo Alvarez would be able to get the stoppage, even though John Ryder was only stopped once prior, and unfairly, I might add. But he faded in that fight too and gave a couple rounds to John Ryder. So it's really about, can he finish strong? And he says that he's in better shape and healthier. He looked it at the weigh-in. I'll give him that much. And ultimately, he has dealt with some injuries in the past, couple years or so. And this was said to be one of his better training camps that he's had recently. So we'll ultimately see. I do think Canelo Alvarez is out to make a statement. I don't know if he's going to actually win this fight by knockout, but I do wonder how he'll finish the fight, because Jermell Charlo is one that I expect to get off to a slow start because of the 16-month layoff that Shantelle mentioned. And is Canelo Alvarez going to be able to not only exploit that, but also finish with a statement?
Yeah, it's going to matter. See how he finishes. Great point about him sort of appearing to tire at the end of the last couple of fights. Okay, last thing, guys, because, with the big fight night, people are going to be looking to do a little wagering here. So what is your best bet? And who do you have winning this fight? Shantelle, I'll start with you.
So I talked about Jermell Charlo having a chance in this fight. I think he does. But the thing about Canelo Alvarez, when he is in Vegas, it's very hard for his opponent to win on the card. So I'm going to roll with Canelo Alvarez by exact victory, unanimous decision, which is a +115. And I think that is a great bet with a little bit of value there, because the one thing that we've noticed against Canelo, I mean, we saw this against Triple G. I truly believe in that first fight Triple G won, and that second fight was a draw. But as you could see on the cards, it would go towards Canelo, and I think we're going to have the same type of situation here. I think if Jermell Charlo wants to win, he's going to have to win by knockout, so that's something you could sprinkle on if you're on Charlo's side. But another bet that I really, really like is that I do think Canelo Alvarez is going to be able to close the gap in this fight. Charlo likes to fight at a distance, and I think Canelo will be able to close that gap and get to the body punching, and I think he will slowly break him down. So I also like the bet of Canelo to win in rounds 7 through 12, which is a +420.
All right, and good value there on that one. Canelo winning in the late rounds. Bryan, what's your best bet for this fight?
Same thing, Canelo by unanimous decision, plus 125, I found it at. And I would also add that I think there are a couple worthy long shot sort of sprinkles here that you can realistically talk yourself into. Jermell Charlo to be knocked down between rounds 1 through 6 at plus 650 is one that I bet earlier this week, and one that I would be looking at, because while Jermell Charlo is not somebody who gets knocked down, he is somebody who's coming off a long layoff, and Canelo Alvarez has gotten off to better starts lately, even though that wasn't the case sort of earlier in his career. So I think Canelo Alvarez could take advantage of that 16-month layoff and actually put Jermell Charlo potentially on the canvas. Not something I'd put a lot of money on, but it's something that I think is worth monitoring. And then you have Canelo Alvarez with a potential late stoppage. I like rounds 9 through 12 because he has some round 11 stoppages, and, you know, in that last portion of the fight, if he's going to finish strong and if he's going to break Jermell Charlo down, that's something you could find at plus 700. I'm putting even less on that, maybe only $1 or $2, but I do think it's probably worth a sprinkle that if Canelo gets a stoppage, I do think it'll be late in the fight, but ultimately he has to finish strong, and that's, I think, one of the big questions looming as we head into this fight.
Yeah, I think it's one of the big questions. That's why the odds are where they are for those late stoppages. We'll see how it all goes down Saturday night in Vegas. Charlo versus Canelo should be a really good one. I know you guys will be on top of it. And you're having a post-fight show, right? We do it mandatory. We're getting the post-fight show. There we go.
Yep.
Check that out. Mandatory boxing show. Hit that subscribe button for my guys, Shantelle and Bryan Fonseca. Check out the post-fight show. Guys, as always, thank you for the analysis and enjoy the fight.